Good morning, everyone. How are you? Well, this is the continuation of this class, which is called the topic events in sexual reproduction. Right? So, I think last class we saw that in the events in the sexual reproduction there are three stages. What are the three stages, children? One is called the pre-fertilization events. Okay, the events are classified into three types. One is pre-fertilization, fertilization, and post-fertilization. In pre-fertilization, we have seen that how this fertilization really, what are the various events that occurs in the organisms. That's what is that? Gametogenesis and gamete transfer. So gametogenesis, as you know, that's nothing but formation of gametes. And how the gamete is getting transferred, that also we discussed in the last class. We saw very briefly regarding the fertilization. So fertilization, they occur in two different conditions. If it occurs in external conditions, then we call it as external fertilization. That is, example is in water. And if it occurs inside the female body, then we call it as internal fertilization, right? Post-fertilization, as you know, that is the formation of embryo. So formation of embryo, as you know, that is called embryogenesis. So today we are going in further few topics. We are again further considering into the same topic, that is events in sexual reproduction. Some other things we are considering. What are the various other processes that occurs inside that? So listen dear children. So fertilization. So fertilization is nothing but the fusion of gametes. So it's also called as syngamy. It's called as syngamy. It's called as syngamy, where two gametes are getting fused. So that means a male gamete is fuses with the female gamete. So when there is a fusion between both the cases, then we get what is this process called as syngamy. Now, there are certain exceptional cases are there. In some organisms, like rotifers, reptile lizard, honeybees, and bird called turkey. In turkey, honeybees, and all these cases, if you are looking into it, that is, if you are seeing these organisms, rotifers, reptile lizard, honeybees, turkey, it's a bird, right? It is a bird. If you are seeing in all these cases, there are certain exceptions are there. What is that exceptions? Exceptions are that in these organisms, what happens? The syngamy doesn't occur. That means directly from the female gamete. Directly from the female gamete. So this one, right? I'll use directly from the female gamete. Directly from the female gamete. The female gamete is there. That is the female gamete. Directly from the female gamete, and offspring is formed. And offspring is formed directly. So there is no involvement of this male gamete. Male gamete is not involved. So let me put a cross here. So there's not a cross. I'll put a cross here. So there is no fusion with the male gamete. So directly the female gamete directly forms the offspring is formed. So this process directly is formed. Directly they are resulting into the offspring. So this process, dear friends, is called as parthenogenesis. It is called as parthenogenesis. So this process is called as parthenogenesis. So once again, let me repeat here. So usually in all the organisms, okay, and vertebrates, and almost all the organisms, if we see, there occurs syngamy, one of the process where the fusion of male gamete and female gamete occurs. But there are some organisms like this, like rotifers, reptile lizard, honeybees, and turkey. It's a bird. And in these cases, the female gamete, without the involvement of the male gamete, directly forms offsprings, and this process is called as parthenogenesis. Is it clear, children? So this is in the case of fertilization. Next, in the case of talk about the post-fertilization. In post-fertilization, I like to emphasize that, I would like to tell you that in the case of post-fertilization, I would like to tell you that there is when there is a fusion, that is fertilization occurs, engamy occurs, from here, just listen here, when this engamy occurs, there is a formation of zygote. Zygote is formed. So this zygote, it changes into embryo. It changes into embryo. And this process of formation of embryo is what is called as embryogenesis. This formation of this embryo is what is called as embryogenesis. Okay, children. So, when engamy occurs in the organisms, that results into the zygote, and the zygote will convert into embryo. The formation of this embryo is called as embryogenesis. Now, again the organisms, where this embryo is developed. If it is developed outside the female body, I would like to mention that if it occurs outside the female body, it occurs outside the female body. Next one, if it occurs inside the female body, if it occurs inside the female body, I hope you are able to understand that this embryo, whether if it occurs outside the female body or it occurs in the female body, the development of this embryo. Okay, so outside the female body, what are the examples? We can take the birds, okay, we can take reptiles. In these cases, if you see, they occurs outside the female body. So this kind of process is called as, what is it, children? Oviparous. It's called as oviparous. You have to understand. That means if the embryo develops outside the female body, example you can see in the birds and reptiles, it's called as oviparous. That's egg laying ones. So what happens? The egg develops outside thing. So there is a lot of chances for predation. So the threat, the embryos are a threat, because you can see the birds lay the eggs and there may be some animals coming and eating that eggs. So it is not letting the offsprings to come out fully developed. So there is a lot of threat is there. But in the case of the one which is occurring in the female body, most of the things you can take the example of the mammals. If you take the example of mammals, including the human beings, including the humans, if you take, in these cases, the embryo is developed inside the female body. So here we call this as viviparous. We call it as viviparous. Viviparous means the one developing inside the mother's body, and she gives birth. So the young ones are produced by birth. Birth is being formed. The young ones are formed by birth. Here it's not a birth. Here they're developing outside. So now we can show that where more care is taken, more kind of the nutrients, supplement of the nutrients, the care, the ambient atmosphere for the development of the embryo, definitely it is said with the viviparous. So more care is being given in comparing the oviparous. The oviparous, the egg, it lays the egg and the whole embryo is developed outside the environment. So there's a lot of things are there, but still the production, the nature, that's very powerful. Okay, that God is a very big scientist, you see. So if you see that, the egg also, you will see that, you are seeing the hen's egg, see the topmost layer, it's very hard. So it is not letting the things to enter easily, right? So protected is there. So in the case of these things, we have the presence of as you know that, we have the presence of the calcareous shell. The calcareous shell is there, which actually protects this egg. The embryo inside which it is developed, there is a hard layer which actually covers it and protects it, the young ones. So right, so this is about the development of the embryo inside the living organisms, and on the other hand we see about the fertilization, how it occurs. Now when you talk about the plants here, children, in the case of plants, because here we have just discussed about the animals here. If you talk about the plants here, let me mention here the plants. If you talk about the plants here, what happens? You have seen the things, what are the changes occurs here. So all the sepals, okay, petals, all will wither. Okay, after the fertilization, it all will be withered. They will automatically fall down, right? That's called, we say they get withered. And what are the organs inside the flower that's getting changed? So you can talk about that. That is, the zygote is developed. So zygote is there. The zygote, it is there. It changes into the embryo. Fine, right? This is one thing we'll find. The next one is the ovule. If you see the ovule will change into the seed, and the ovary, which inside which the ovule is present. So you have studied in class 11 that ovule is present in the locules, isn't it? So inside which these are enclosed inside the ovary. So the ovary will definitely change into what? Very good. Yes, fruit will change into the fruit. So these are what is the post-fertilization changes. So here I'd like to mention that these are the post-fertilization changes. This is what? The post-fertilization changes in plants. Post-fertilization changes. So sepals and all these things will wither. Zygote will change into the embryo. Ovule will change into the seed. Ovary will change into the fruit. So if you have come across, I think, a diagram here. Okay. And this is the wall. You have the walls like this, right? Can you remember what is this thing which I am drawing here? Can you remember that? So inside this you can see that, you see very beautifully. Present here. Okay. So this is how. So this is the ovary wall, right? Now this is no more called as ovary wall. What that is called as? It is called as pericarp. So if you see in your textbook, it is written as P. P means it is called as pericarp. It is called as pericarp. The fruit wall we call it as a pericarp. I said the ovule. So this was earlier ovules. No, they will be changing into what is called as seeds. This is called seeds. So this is what. So what kind of placentation, my dear children? Marginal placentation. This is the case of pea. Case of pea plant. Clear? So with that, we are trying to conclude the chapter, reproduction organisms. So let me tell you here, highlight the various features here with the continuation of the previous topic, the events in the sexual reproduction. That is fertilization and post-fertilization. There are certain exceptions are there in these organisms, and that where the female gamete directly forms offspring, that is called parthenogenesis. And in the case of post-fertilization, the changes are that the zygote, in the case of organisms which get fused, the zygote changes into the embryo, and depending on the organisms, the embryo develops either outside the female body or inside the female body. Outside the female body, we can talk the examples of birds and reptiles. The process is called oviparous. And if it occurs outside, that's inside, like what it is in the case of mammals, including the humans, we call it as vaviparous. So they give the birth, right? The young ones are formed by birth. And when we talk about the plants here, these are the various things, events occurring here. The sepals and petals, they wither, and zygote changes into the embryo, the ovule changes into the seed, ovary changes into the fruit, and this is one of the fruit where it is highlighting where is the pericarp and the seed. Okay, children, I hope so. This is the end of the chapter, reproduction organisms. Study very well, see all the things, and give your comments. The comment sections, if you see the things without your name, definitely pass the comments. Right, children? Any doubts or queries? I am wholeheartedly welcome for it. and immediately the answers will be given to you. Okay children, right? So with that, take a nice time, be safe, stay healthy. Goodbye children.